Big question.
Yeah.
Do we want to set a timer or do we want to free ball it?
Ooh.
You know?
I'm down for free balling.
Okay.
Let me turn on Do Not Disturb at least.
Oh, I guess I should do that too.
Oh, I turned on theater mode and Do Not Disturb.
Whoops.
I'm going to go with all the modes.
Whoops.
See, am I the only one now who has trouble on their watch? Oh, you deflated completely.
Well, I don't pride myself in being very good with my watch, so. We're going to really hope that the dog is quiet,
Yes.
but no promises. She just got a plate of steak and green beans. So
She eats better than we do.
she does. Not only that, they're French green beans.
Well, yeah, she's doing
Erica
a modified carnivore diet, paleo.
Yeah, paleo. No, she's not doing paleo because I gave her saltine earlier. So.
Okay, it's not even keto then. She's
Not even keto. No, she's just eats what she wants.
She's on the human diet.
Yeah. Yep. The improved diet or improved human diet over what we have.
I like it.
Yeah. So shall we get into it, Anthony?
I would vote for a yes on getting into it.
So guys, we have a topic today. Anthony, do you want to read the name of the topic?
I would love to read the name of the topic
I think we're kind of excited about this one.
yeah.
Sorry, I'll let you read it.
No. I was just ramping up, gearing up, winding up to say the title name. But I'm really excited about this. Are you ready? Oh, okay. So the topic for today is personal brand for professional creatives. What is it, and do you need one?
Right? Deep, big, powerful. I love this topic.
Yeah. I mean,
Brand in general is something. Well, it's actually okay. I think brand is one of those topics that is difficult to talk about because nobody knows it's hard to define.
Why is that?
Well, we're gonna get into that big
Should
time.
we start with what the definition is
Oh
first?
yes, right. I even did this outline. I forgot. So yes, actually, what I would love, let's pretend that there's a little soapbox, and I just pulled it out. One thing I do know, only because I've been diving into this world for a long time, is that brand and branding are not the same thing.
Okay.
And a lot of people, especially when we're working with clients, they hear brand and they think that's the logo and the color palette and the aesthetic. That is not brand. That is branding, or sometimes it's called brand identity. What brand is, do you want to say what brand is, or do you want me to keep going?
No, I was just going to say, I thought what branding was like what ranchers do to cows.
Well, that is, see again though, but that's a visual representation of, that's like the branding is about what it visually looks like. It's like the Tiffany blue, or it's the Starbucks mermaid siren, whatever she is, that green logo. Whereas when we define Starbucks or Tiffany to someone, we don't say, oh, it's the green mermaid. We say it's a really expensive coffee company.
Yeah.
Or we'll say oh, it's a really expensive, or, like a luxury jewelry company.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what we are not talking about here is brand identity. So we're not going to be diving into things like logo and color palettes. There is all sorts of studies, to be fair, and the words are used interchangeably. There are studies about brand color. So what does it mean that Target uses red and Tide uses orange?
And we use a lime green now.
We do use a lime green, just a little tiny bit of lime green.
Just a little,
dab. Just like that little logo dot. And I've actually been finding on the website, we're going to talk about branding for a second here, apparently.
Oh.
I have been finding as I've been building out our website, I'm almost using less and less of the green. And it's because the more we do of our portfolio for any design stuff, I don't want our green to compete with what the portfolio is. So when I'm sharing Jennifer Probe's site, which is all red and yellow, and then I don't want our green to overpower. That's a tangent.
Got it.
These are the types of things you think about with branding, though, but not with brand.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So, let's see. Where do we even go into with this?
So we covered the definition of brand and branding, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I think so, because
Yep.
now I'm on the same page.
Right.
I understand it's not the sizzle
Correct.
or the Tiffany blue. It's brand.
Yes. And so in the case of your rancher, and this is where it gets so hard to define, but the brand would essentially be what can you expect from that particular ranchers? Either working with them, the type of I know beef is beef, but do they
Right.
they specialize in a certain kind of cut, or are they known for whatever? I don't know I don't know the beef industry well enough to even touch that topic, but
Here to hear in today's Last Word podcast from beef industry insider Lauren Lane.
and like the entire middle of the country's like, no. But it would be like for example, and again, this is like, please, if anybody's in the beef industry, and I'm sure this is like not even close.
We test really well with
Yeah,
cattlemen.
like there's like nobody out there that knows anything about this, but it would be essentially like if you were like in that world and you were trying to be like, okay, am I going to buy from like this rancher or this rancher?
Mm-hmm.
And if they were and then you had to explain why, that you would be describing their probably part of their brand.
Oh, okay.
I
All
think.
right.
I mean, that's at least how I'm thinking of it.
So it's more about describing like their product.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And so like in my little notes here, I basically like I think as well. Actually, I would like to know your thoughts because I've spent I think a lot more time thinking about this than you, just because I spend so much time trying to figure out how to explain people the difference in branding.
Yes.
But so the way that I like, as I've kind of like backed into it, the way that I think about brand is it's what makes us recognizable, and therefore it's what sets us apart from others in our industry or in our field.
In terms of product, specifically.
Well, but in terms of like that, we're gonna get into that because
Oh.
it's also like it's like your vibe, your energy, like, and a person can be a brand. Like I think you could argue, like depending on your preferences, right? Like Beyonce and Madonna both have like great music. They both have like iconic music, but like you think of completely different things when you would describe them differently as people as well as their music.
Right.
Same thing with like Kia and a Tesla, both cars,
Oh yeah,
but very,
night and day differences.
Night and day
You
differences.
one of them is much more popular to steal from TikTok videos than the other.
which one?
Kia. There's a whole Kia TikTok challenge or whatever, or the whole
Oh.
Kia challenge. Oh yeah, people are stealing Kias just because
What?
it's easy to. It's
I
yeah.
do not.
It's like one of the trends that was going on TikTok. I think it was like a year ago, maybe.
Oh man, so I'm not in TikToks.
I mean, if you're getting a Kia, you're kind of asking for it anyway. Like you should.
Apparently.
I mean, no offense to any Kia listeners, any Kia drivers out there. I don't think we test well with them.
I still remember. I think I told you this before. The a friend I used to work with
Yeah,
at
yeah.
T-Mobile, and it was like a terrible snow day, and like I was there and he was there, and then basically he made the statement. He said the Kia beats them all because he had like a long commute, and that's what I think of as Kias. I think of Kias as being good in the snow just from that one reference. They probably aren't. He was probably being sarcastic.
Yeah, everybody else is like, no, never get. But he made it. He was the
He
only
made
one that
it.
made it in.
So we're boosting Kia's brand with this.
Yeah, we're basically looking for
Video.
sponsorships. That's how we
Yeah.
work. We kick them in
Kia,
the
if you're
nuts
listening.
first, and then build them back up. So
I don't think we should hold our breath for that. Especially
Today's
since
show.
like I can't remember the last time I drove any car.
yeah.
It's been, or if it is, it's like on road trips, and even then, it's only for me to like go from our motel to the grocery store, so like across the parking lot.
I know every morning, we leave the hotel with another 8-hour drive ahead of us, and I'm always, kind of kicking the dirt around, just waiting to see if you're going to volunteer to drive that day.
It's never going to happen.
And I'm like,
You're-
I'll just drive. I'll drive. I got it. No.
You're going to have to say, "I want you to drive." You're just going. I'm telling you that right now. Yeah.
I'm like packing all the stuff in the back, and I'm like looking around both sides to see which side she getting in.
Even now, after years of just default. But then I do want to have you. We always joke that I'm nanny. We're getting way off topic here. We always joke that I'm the nanny in the car
Right.
because Bales is like a full-time job. So I want you to wrangle Bailey for 5 minutes, and I would love to see if you weren't desperately trying to get back into the driver's seat.
No, that's fair. That's
'Cause
fair. That's
it's-
like why I like taking her out in the mornings when we're here at home, because I don't want to do the chore. That's the other side.
is
That
the
you have to
morning
do
chores.
chores. I take her out, you do chores, and I hate doing.
And I didn't know that for the longest time because I thought you were just trying to be so nice. Like sometimes I'd be like, you know what, it's my turn to take the dog out, and like it's raining, it's gross. Like I'm getting my like tennis shoes and my stuff together, and he will basically shove me out of the way, and I'm like, wow, that's like really gentlemanly. And then later I'm like, oh, it's because he doesn't like to unload the dishwasher.
Well, okay. I am hamming it up a little bit about not liking chores, but also, I don't want you to get stabbed. That's the other reason why I generally want to take the
Oh
dog
yeah,
out.
yeah. There are some mornings where I do not
And it's almost
linger outside.
and sometimes it's almost less I don't want you to get stabbed and more I don't want anybody asking us questions after or later on, like, well, who takes the dog out at 2 a.m.? And I don't want to have to say
Oh,
like,
you assume that I survived the stabbing?
no, this is this isn't post stabbing.
Oh, okay.
This is just in general. Actually, it could be post stabbing. I don't want anybody to ask me like, well, why'd you let her take the dog out in Hell's Kitchen at 2 a.m? And I don't want to say like, because I needed my beauty sleep. And you're over there changing your gauze from your wound.
So I do survive.
You do survive.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's less dark than I was thinking.
Like how the only thing you were listening for is just whether or not you survived the stabbing.
Okay, so Anthony, brand. Not branding. Brand.
Right. We're getting in.
So I do think it's trickier for creative professionals, people like us, than it is for companies, because I think companies can sit down and like usually and I think we can have mission statements too, like we as individuals, but companies can kind of sit down and like develop like, okay, what is our brand? Like, what's it going to stand for? For example, I know, to use Starbucks again, what's his face? The guy that founded it.
Oh God.
Starts with an Howard?
Yeah. Schultz. Howard Schultz.
Yes. So he, at least as far as lore goes.
We've been out of Seattle for so long.
I know. We're lost touch with our roots. Apparently, again, this is like, well, I don't know if this is actually true, but what I've always heard is that his like conception of Starbucks, like way back in like 80s, 90s, whenever it started,
70s,
was to be, I think like a third, like I think he called it like the third home, like
third place.
Yeah, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he wanted to. Oh, so it is a thing. So like he wanted to build this like this place that wasn't work and wasn't home. Like it was like a place to like hang out, where you could go, where you could like meet someone that was comfortable, and that. But that's easier to do when it's a product, it's a place. You can kind of say, okay, this is what we're trying to do. How do we conceive of it? But with people, and again, I'm talking like for the sake of this conversation, let's assume that we're not talking necessarily like small companies, but we're talking about like individual creators. So
right.
Like musicians, comedians, writers, painters, like that type of world. Yeah, then is a brand, is it you? Like, is it your personality or is it your work?
Well, I think it can be both. It can be one, the other, or both, depending on what field you're in and to what level your personality is exposed to the public domain, public sphere. Meaning, since my world tends to be, since I'm coming at it from a comedy perspective, I think brand can encompass both a comedian's voice, like you can tell the difference between Lewis Black and Jerry Seinfeld. You can guess what they might say about a given topic, or at least how they'll present their opinion on it. Mm-hmm. And
so like you think, and I think I already know the answer to this, but you think that if you had a transcript of each of those, and no names,
sure.
you had a transcript of each of their sets.
Oh, yeah.
You would know whose is whose.
Yeah.
Do you think that is also true of, I don't want to say lesser comedians, less well known? Is maybe part of what makes them so great, is the fact that actually that I think is the ultimate example of having a strong brand.
Yeah.
You could take the name away and people would still know it. At least in terms of like art.
Yes. I think that's, I at least think that's the holy grail of a comedian and their material, is to have the comedian be completely inseparable from the material, such that if you tried to extract the material from a comedian's act and implant it into another person's act, it wouldn't survive. I think you can keep the same ideas and everything, but if you wanted to go even word for word or pretty close to word for word, you couldn't take my, well, I'm maybe not strong enough for this to be true, but you probably couldn't take my stuff, put it on, and have you go to stage and say it. The goal would be for the material to die in the process, for it not to land, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think. But like you think of one-liner comedians, well, I think of one-liner comedians, and their stuff is pretty separate, but like you can separate the comic from the material.
So they have good material, in theory, if they're good one-liners, they have good material, but not necessarily strong brand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say that, but like Mitch Hedberg, who is one of the more well-known, or was at least one of the more well-known one-liners, had his particular brand and style. I don't know. Maybe there's something to be said for like the type of one-liner, you know, that a comic is coming up with. But like, I'm thinking as I'm developing
Yeah.
this. I'm developing this idea as I'm talking. But like,
See, like this is why I think brand is like the trickiest topic. Even when I was like trying to put together notes, I'm like, how the heck do you define this thing? How do you advise on this thing? How do you build this thing?
right. So here's an example. In my world, we would call it hack material, and that's stuff that you can easily move. It's a common idea, common trope. It's been probably has been done before. Like that joke has been done, and it's stuff that's easily transmutable from comic to comic. Is hack, I think. Whereas watching Sebastian Maniscalco do an impression of the people at Chipotle, that's like I could attempt to do that, but it wouldn't be the same, and it would probably fall flat. But you see him bouncing on stage, and that's his act. That's his fun, that's his brand.
All right.
But you couldn't. Seinfeld couldn't do that.
True.
He would stand there and fetch about it, but it would be totally different.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a quick comic aside for what I think brand is. It's a comedian's voice.
So, but then you said that the goal is that you can't separate out the comic from the material. And I think I mostly agree with that. But then I was thinking, and I'm pretty sure we've talked about this topic before, on the podcast perhaps, but Jim Gaffigan,
Yeah.
who we both think is really funny.
Yeah.
We're both fans. He had that, I don't know, it was a couple of years ago. He like made big-ish news because he's been like, you know more about this than I do, but he's like generally been famously apolitical, and he went on a political rant, I think on Twitter or X, whatever we're supposed to call it now.
Right. Yeah. I think you have to say the full name, X, formerly Twitter.
It's like Prince.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I will say, like, nothing that he said on Twitter, like none of that was part of his set. His set still stayed funny, but it bothered me. Not even because of what he said, but like it changed. Like Jim Gaffigan has such a strong brand, and I think part of what I love about him is that when I think of him, I think of, okay, he's an escape from, like, you know that you're not going to have to deal with that stuff. Like if I'm going to watch, like sometimes you want to watch, let's just say something fluffy that takes you away from the real world. And
Right.
part of Jim Gaffigan's brand, I think, is you could rely on him for that, because he didn't do politics. He didn't do any like heavy topics. And all of a sudden, just, even though his material didn't change, like you were saying, there's the comic and the material, that stuff didn't change. Just the actual act, still funny. But I think I like him just a little tiny bit less. And I know there's some people, like we have people in our acquaintance that outright won't watch or listen to him now because of that. And that's kind of a different tangent. But so I don't think you can, I think it can't, having a really strong brand can almost backfire in that way.
Oh, totally.
Because if you go off, Ellen's and other ones just stick on the comedian thing. You know, she had like that little, I don't know what's happening with her now. I should have done my homework, I guess, before I like brought these people up. So maybe this is irrelevant, but she had kind of like that backlash where apparently she's been preaching kindness, and then maybe she's like not as nice.
Yeah, I don't know what
something.
happened. There were allegations that she was a monster behind the screen.
But like that,
Backstage, whatever.
that I think would have,
Behind the
those
scenes.
allegations probably would have been a lot less damaging, if in fact they were damaging. I don't know. Maybe she's bounced back entirely. Those probably would have been less damaging had she not had such a strong brand. Like, I thought she was just like the most likable. She's got her white tennis shoes, funny. She's always preaching being nice. Like, I thought that was like her entire thing. And so when I found out there's even a possibility that she wasn't that person, like I just felt betrayed. I'm still telling myself that she is, and it's all like rumors.
Yeah.
But again, like that is, I think, potentially a downside.
Well, I had the same reaction with Harvey Weinstein. You know, he comes across as such a likable, clean, nice guy, and then all these allegations about Me Too come out, and it's just like, I can't stand this guy
He
now.
went off brand for you.
Yeah. Well, no, but to get back to your point about Gaffigan, I think brand can hem you in a little bit. Like maybe that's what he believes and his true personality or whatever. And I'm sure it might be. It was, for those of you who don't know at home, I think it was during during Trump's re-election campaign. I think it was running up to that
I think so.
when he was running against. It was this last election, and I think Gaffigan went off. He even dropped, I think, an F-bomb or two, which, as a guy who's known for being a clean comic, is kind of a surprise to people. I think he may have lost a few fans from that. I think he may have gained a few fans as well. But the fact that it was a big shock, I think, speaks to how brand can limit you a little bit, for better and for worse. You know him because he talks about food, being fat, being a dad, and being a husband, and then that's what you go see him for. But then all of a sudden he's got a rant against Trump or something, and it's like, oh, I thought.
Yeah, because it's almost like what we're taught to do as creatives, I think, and I actually think this is in general good advice, is to like sort of like almost teach people what to expect from you.
Right.
And this is what like they very effectively taught us what to expect from them, and then they went against it, and there is like that little like what? And even like this is a different example, a different art form, but Rebel Wilson, actress.
Yeah. She played Fat Amy on Pitch Perfect.
Right. And so she lost a ton of weight. Like she basically went on
that bitch.
How dare she? She had like the year of health. She just focused on getting healthy. She walked, ate less junk food, all these things, lost a ton of weight. And she's like, I've read interviews with her where she said people like there's a lot of like chatter or whatever, and they're like, oh well, she'd still be as funny. And she's like, what the heck? Like watch myself. Like I'm still the same person. But I have to admit there was a tiny part of me because like that was like she had a character named Fat Amy. Like that was her brand, was playing this really goofy, bigger character. And now all of a sudden she wasn't. I was like, well, that's like in my head, I was like, well, that's not the Rebel Wilson I know. Even though I'm thrilled for her that she's feeling really healthy, but like,
right.
Even now knowing that, I'm kind of like I have to say I'm maybe like a tiny bit less inclined to watch her stuff. And I am embarrassed to even say that, but that I think again is like the power and the risk sometimes of brand.
I wonder if artists have to I wonder if that's one reason why artists try to be in the public sphere a lot, is because it helps them and it helps keep the public abreast of any sort of micro changes, so that no one's super surprised when there's a macro change. So for example, maybe if she had, I don't know, maybe she did this and it just wasn't publicized, who knows? But let's say if she, posted about, oh, I'm going on a weight loss journey or something, and like, oh, day 1 or day 10, like basically keep in touch with people.
She did. She
did?
Yeah, she did. And that's the thing, like it really is such an empowering story in some ways, but because she was had such a strong brand as Fat Amy, she wasn't always Fat Amy, but I mean, like that was her thing. It was just like, I think there's just something about it that's inherently jarring, and maybe that just speaks a lot to our obsession with celebrity culture of they're supposed to be what we want them to be.
Well, it almost feels like you get to know somebody personally. I mean, obviously you're not, but like it'd be me getting to know you, for example, and then one day you're like, oh, I'm going blonde. And I would be like, well, I guess we're getting a divorce. Or I mean, like, obviously that's exaggeration, but it's a shock, right? And I have to process that. And obviously I have support. I mean, I'm kidding.
Yeah. No. But actually I was thinking about this as I was doing my hair before this, in terms of like trying to figure out like what my brand is, and like trying to separate like how much is like the aesthetics of the brand, like what you look like. And then in the case of Rebel Wilson, like weight being a factor. Whereas like other characters can like change, or other actors, their brand is to transform a little bit more. They can always be changing their hair color. But I was thinking, so for those at home, my hair is like, I was born, it was pretty much black. It's probably like espresso brown, but it's basically I have black hair, except it's now mostly gray. And I have thought a lot about letting it go. And I want to, like, the big part of me wants to, like, I'm sick of dyeing my hair and I want to be one of those people that embraces it. And I feel this like intense resistance to it. And I can't figure out why until a couple weeks or a couple months ago when we were getting our hair done. And we had, I don't know, something, the girl was watching, Tracy was washing my hair, and then she was like, oh yeah, da da da, and she was like, I just love your color. She was like, black hair is your trademark. She's like, it's just part of your brand. And she was like half joking, but I was like, oh my gosh, like that hits so much on why like for me, this color hair is a part of like my brand in my own head. Like it's how I identify. And it's weird how that becomes like a part of who you are, even though it's just hair color.
Right.
Like it really doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with my personality. But for some reason, like there's, I think, some things that we latch onto.
I wonder if that's why some artists go so extreme in their brand expression, is because
Yep.
it's one way for them to separate the brand from who they are as people. You know, like if maybe there's a reason why Lady Gaga dresses up in a meat dress years ago, because she can at least say, okay, that's the outward facing wackadoo weirdo. And then maybe I don't know what her real name is. I can't remember, but maybe she's
Yeah.
as a person, obviously not so eccentric all the time, but then she can be free at home to be who she is. Maybe she likes knitting, you know, like
Yeah.
maybe she's regular. I don't even know if she's a mom, but maybe she's, you know, dropping the kids off at school and just wants to be different.
Okay, so Lady Gaga is one who obviously cultivates her brand
Yes.
very deliberately. Madonna's another one I've mentioned. I think kind of does the same thing. I think the ultimate example of brand, Dolly Parton,
Oh yeah.
big time. And actually, if you guys haven't seen the Dolly Parton documentary, actually, I don't think you've seen it.
No, I haven't.
I think about it all the freaking time. There's a great Dolly Parton documentary. I don't know what streamer it's on. Maybe it's not even available anymore, but I loved it. And I've been I'm loosely like a Dolly Parton fan, but I didn't know like a ton about her. And now I am like her biggest fan. But one of the things that she says is, you know, she has like a lot of people have like written her off as a bimbo. And she's like, no. She's like, that's all deliberate. She's like, she leans into it. Like the boobs, the plastic surgery, like the whole, like the hair, the makeup, everything that you think of with Dolly Parton, that is her deciding to be Dolly Parton. And that I think is the ultimate commitment to brand. And I think it's worked for her like a lot. I mean, it's like, I don't think there's that many people who don't know who Dolly Parton is. And that's brand. Even if they don't listen to her music,
Right.
You still know who Dolly Parton is,
Yeah.
which I think is powerful.
Oh, I agree. I don't remember the last time I like chose to listen to a Dolly Parton song. I mean, nothing against her. She's just not in my regular rotation, but I've heard a lot of her music. I can always tell when it's a Dolly Parton song.
Yep.
I think there was an album that when we were on a road trip a couple of years back, I didn't remember what small town, maybe Springfield, Missouri or something. And the hotel we were in had a record player.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the albums, and we just threw it on, and it was a compilation album, and one of them, you heard this voice, and it was like probably from the 70s, I'm guessing. And it was like, oh, that's for sure Dolly Parton.
Yep. That was the best hotel.
That really was.
But yeah, not only that, but after we heard that song, because like of course, like we know like Jolene and 9 to 5, but after we heard whatever that song was, which at the time we weren't familiar with, we like listened to Dolly Parton in the car after that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was like, oh,
Yeah, but had she not been so recognizable throughout the years, I wonder, like, what would have happened if she started out and like wasn't great, you know? But she's like, no, I have to commit to this brand, or like, was she? I wonder what were her like artistic formative years like?
well,
You know?
and maybe it's like, and that this is, I'm like nothing against Dolly Parton's like singing ability, like it is good, but it's not even like, I don't think she's the most talented like singer of all time, but she's recognizable. Like she leaned into like that her Dolly Parton voice, like
Right.
that style of singing. It's almost like she just made it her and made it her focus. And another one is she's actually Dolly Parton's, I think, goddaughter. Why am I blanking on her name? Miley Cyrus.
Oh,
Isn't that
yeah.
one where like, and like I think Miley's gone in a lot of the ways that same route where she's got her own brand. It's very distinct. You know, like she's got a very like distinct singing style, but it's not necessarily like, oh, that's the most like the prettiest voice I've ever heard. But it's Miley's side. That's Miley's thing.
Yeah.
And you always kind of like, at least I want to know like if there's like a recap of like the Emmys or whatever. It's always like it's usually Miley Cyrus has done something.
Yeah.
Done something to stand out. Okay, so now here's another question for you, Anthony.
I'm ready.
Do you think it's possible to like a brand and dislike the product, or vice versa? To not love someone's brand, but kind of like what they're doing? Because I originally said no, but then I had this thought of like Kanye West drives me nuts. I don't like anything about that guy.
Oh.
But there is not a single time if I'm in the treadmill that I Don't Play Stronger. Like,
Yeah.
and actually a couple of his songs, but like there are like, I don't like Kanye West, but I can't deny that I like some of his music. And then on the flip side, I love Reese Witherspoon. Like I love like on her Instagram feed when I'm on Instagram. Like I will stalk every single thing. She's got like a little clothing line. I think she has a cookbook. Like I love her. I love everything about her. But if I'm being really honest, I don't think I like that many Reese Witherspoon movies.
Not even Legally Blonde?
Not, I mean, I do, but not the way that you're supposed to.
Legally Blonde 2?
No. I mean, like I like them, I guess,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not like for as much as I like Reese Witherspoon, I should love those movies. Whereas like I think I've seen them both once,
Right.
And I get why Legally Blonde is iconic. I definitely get that, but it's not a favorite movie. I don't really rush to see stuff that she's in. But you say Reese Witherspoon, I'm like, yes, love her.
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore's another one. I really like Drew Barrymore, but I don't like go out of my way to see Drew Barrymore's stuff.
Okay, so you're saying like the person as separate, you like or dislike the person, and then you like or dislike the brand separately. Can you?
Yeah. I guess I'm trying to get at like can you separate the work from the person, especially if it's a strong brand? And Kanye West's brand is very strong. It's polarizing, but it's like he's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, like after the whole Cosby stuff happened, like
right.
like
That's another great example.
Yeah, like I still think he's kind of. I can appreciate his comedy, but obviously I think he's a lunatic, or a criminal. So, and it I mean, I'm sure it has affected whether or not it's easy to listen to his material going forward, but like some of it's still funny.
Yeah.
I mean, Louis C.K. probably the same thing. I never really left a Louis C.K. show like feeling great about life.
True.
And
he's another one though that has I don't really know where things landed on all the allegations against him, so please don't cancel me for even like mentioning this. But he's another one that has a strong brand. Like again, you may not love, like I actually don't love him. I don't know, like I don't love his, like I get why I do understand why people think he's funny. Like I get that in theory. It's just I never particularly want to listen to him. But like even I, not really being in the comedy world, not knowing much of anything, I'm like, oh, I think I could pick out like a Louis C.K. bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So maybe there's kind of, not necessarily, but maybe there is also a connection with strong brands and being polarizing. Like it's not like having a strong brand is universally beloved.
No, it can't be, unless like how can one brand be loved by everyone? Like I'm sure there's some people that are like, ugh, Tiffany's so pedestrian, or it's like, or Jim Gaffigan needs to be edgier, like I think by definition you need to create fans and non-fans, or rather fans and not fans, not even non or un, it's fans and haters maybe.
Yeah,
because otherwise like I don't think it's possible to be universally loved, by everyone. Like I happen to be a fan of Seinfeld's comedy. I know people who aren't, right? It's, but he has a very strong, but like he has such a strong brand that, I don't know. Is it possible to be, for a brand to be universally loved?
Yeah, no. And I mean, like obviously nobody can, but like Taylor Swift, I think I know lots of people like, I don't like Taylor Swift, but in general, I feel like Taylor Swift hasn't been terribly polarizing. She doesn't seem to drive a lot of people nuts, but she also has a lot of fans.
That could, I agreed. I wonder if that's though, like,
or Oprah's another one.
Oh,
like,
no, just kidding.
Like I'm sure there's people that don't like Oprah, but like in general, I was like Oprah's Oprah. Like, I don't know. Maybe as I'm saying this, like, that there's people out there that are like, I hate Taylor Swift. I hate Oprah.
Yeah. I wonder if you can not like Oprah. I wonder if that's even possible.
Or, I know.
Maybe she's the one.
Or like another one that I think of, and I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. This is obviously my own preferences, but I would be kind of surprised if there was somebody out there that like couldn't stand Jennifer Garner or Ina Garten.
Oh.
Because those are both, and they're also like friends, which I think is like extra cute, but like Jennifer Garner's pretty freaking likable. I think she would be impossible not to like, and Ina Garten, same thing.
Yeah, true.
Some people have like a strong strong brand. Again, not that everybody's going to love them, but it's different than like the Kanye's where he's got his fans and support apparently. I don't know who supports Kanye. I've never met somebody that loves Kanye, but like he must because he somehow keeps himself relevant.
25-year-old white males, I think, love Kanye.
All
Yeah.
right. Interesting. All right. So now here's my big question on Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Because in general, I think sometimes what we've been talking about so far is that a strong brand is something that's recognizable. Like somebody can see like your thing and know that it's yours.
Yes.
Or hear your thing or
right. Experience your product.
yes. And I think, and like, I don't necessarily love this description, but I have heard brand described as almost like your promise to your fans. Like this is what I'll deliver to you. And Taylor Swift fascinates me and I'm jealous because she has a strong brand. Like she's obviously wildly successful, but she is all over the place with her music. Like every single album, like she's gone from country to pop to folk to rock to kind of like whatever Reputation was, that like super angry one. She's got like sugary pop, like just all over the place. And they're like somehow those are all Taylor Swift. Whereas I feel like other musicians have tried to switch genres. I'm trying to like pick on anyone, but I'm just gonna say Jessica Simpson, like I think did like a country album and I don't think it did particularly well. And I know there's been others that have gone in and out where you're like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah,
like I like you because you're a country artist. Like get back there. Like go do that. Oh, and writing comes up all the time. I feel so betrayed when some of my favorite romance authors have pivoted to women's fiction.
And they don't change the pen name?
No. And I like as a fellow writer, I respect their desire to grow. And even I think I'm probably experiencing that too. Like I'm still generally writing the same type of stuff, but like especially as I pivoted away from sexy romance to not sexy romance.
Yeah.
I have to imagine there's plenty of readers out there that aren't loving it. And I get that because I'm like I look at other writers doing that, and in general I'm like, no, like your brand was this. This is why I started reading you, and it's hard. Some people do it really, like Nora Roberts is one that can write about vampires and she can write about wedding planners in the same year.
In the same pen name?
Yeah.
I wonder if that happens over time. Like, because she wrote within just one genre for a long time, right?
Yeah, I don't actually know. Probably.
Or did she start early on? Like, basically, where I'm going with this is, can you start to pivot or change and experiment with different genres or styles or whatever of product? And if we're just catching you in the middle of that change, it might be a little jarring. But 10 years down the line, we know, if you keep writing books.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe you just have to push through the awkward pivot.
Right. It's almost like a teenage years of your artistry where it's like, oh yeah, there's some growing pains, some experimentation that went on, dabbled in vampire books in college. And then
no, but she still switches back to those. Like for her, it's not like a phase. It's the freedom to move among.
Right.
Maybe that's just like her and Taylor. Maybe it's just being like brave enough to stick through that so that you can train people that your brand is going to be reinvention it's almost like their brand is rebranding all the time, especially in the case of Taylor. Like she even changes her hair with every album.
Maybe that's intentional.
I think it is. I think she said it is. Which is, I think, brilliant.
Yeah.
How do I do that?
Well, think of even just the physical manifestation of the what am I trying to say? The physical manifestation of a reinvention of your art is kind of a cool way to market. Mm-hmm. I mean, even if to not to market it for sale, but to market as a change, like a change in period, like you feel it physically. Like imagine if you started wearing different clothes for every type of book you wanted to write or something.
Well, and like we talked, my hair, like if I went silver, I bet something would change in like what I'm producing.
Right. You only write about witches or something.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, like I think I probably would age up my characters.
Oh yeah.
Like maybe I would be like, I'm like identifying, not that like gray hair has to equal old, but like it might free up a different part of my brain. I'm no longer 20-year-old Lauren. I'm 45-year-old Lauren.
Yeah.
I was just going to say something you said made me think. Oh, do you remember a couple weeks ago, maybe last week? And I think it was I sent you an article. It was on, I think, The Atlantic. And it was basically like the death of the personal brand. Do you remember this? And it basically, okay, so the gist was, and this is just, I think it was like an opinion piece. Maybe if I can find it again, we can link to it. And I'm probably going to misrepresent it. But the gist was that there has been an uptick on TikTok and Instagram, I think mostly TikTok, to do more like faceless
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. I do remember talking about this.
Whereas
Yeah.
like our generation, we're elder millennials, but we're millennials. Like we've been taught, I feel like it's been like beaten into me. Like you have to show your face. Like you have, like people, there's always this, a preaching out there that like people connect with faces. And I think probably I'm sure scientifically that's true because that's like a human thing. But I think we've been told that so long, like in order to have a strong brand, you have to put your face out there because people connect with the face. And it almost seems like it sounds like potentially there's a little like backlash with that happening.
Yes. I wonder.
Tell me.
Well, no, I mean, I have thoughts. I don't have any, like, there's no empirical data on this, but I wonder if that still holds true, that people connect more with faces, but maybe they're just getting burned out from, you're saying that Gen Zers or like whatever Gen Zers don't want to put their face on, right? Or there's like an increase in the faceless things.
Yeah, and apparently there's a thing like a face reveal that sometimes they're like forced to do if they get like a book deal. Not forced to do, but like it's harder to stay anonymous.
Right. Well, I wonder if, had you grown up with social media, if you might be sick of seeing yourself everywhere.
Yeah.
Even if it's, I mean, not that you would, but like in school, like we never had we had Snake. That was our social media, and we had phones. That was in high school. We had Snake.
I loved Snake.
I did too.
That was a
I wonder, is there like a Snake
There
app
is.
game?
There
Oh,
is.
really? Okay, I might.
But it still looks a little too advanced. But yeah, it's the same idea.
Okay. Anyway, but like we didn't have social media. That was it. Like, but I wonder if you've grown up with it, if you might be sick of knowing that you're out there a lot already, and so this is just one way to control that a little bit.
Right. Like maybe we think it's cool because it's like, oh wow, like it's almost like I think the reason it became so popular is like anyone can become famous, and I'm putting famous in quotes. But like that was the cool idea of like, oh wow, I can hit publish and put my thoughts out there.
I know.
My pictures.
Well, it's also like, I wonder if that's why, like all the people online that I follow because I feel like it feels like I get to know them a little bit. Like they almost feel like pseudo friends a little bit. Like everybody I follow on Instagram or YouTube, OnlyFans, it feels like I just get to know them as people. And that's, I know it's false, but
I'm actually just now thinking about this. So this is going to be a rambling thought, but
unlike all of mine, which have been tight,
we've been so concise.
crisp.
We're all over the place with this one. I like it. So again, like I feel like it's been preached that you have to have a face, and I've even been going back and forth with that as we're like leaning into Last Word, of like, should Last Word be a picture of us, like on our we have a Pinterest account, which I don't know if you knew, like should be a picture of us, or is it supposed to be a logo? And just like kind of going back and forth. And I feel like, again, the traditional wisdom says that it's supposed to be a face. But I've also been noticing, and this is just like my own anecdotal reactions lately, but there's, especially in like the design or like the female entrepreneur world, because you're supposed to show your face. And so like, it's like a headshot, right, of a girl. And then the website is usually pictures of them, or their social media is like pictures of them, and they're like talking or they're doing reels. And it seems like there's so many of those that they're all starting to run together in my head. And I've noticed as I lean increasingly into design, especially on Pinterest, like I follow a ton of like studios or designers on Pinterest, and they just have their logo. I've never seen their headshot, but like as I'm going through Pinterest, Pinterest on your laptop, you can see like 20 photos at a time, and I would be able to pick out, and I'm like, oh, that's like, I know who the studio is just from the style of their work. And I think that is like even more powerful. Like that says more, like that is still a brand, and it's instantly recognizable, but it's not necessarily like a face or a personality. So it's almost like, I think brand, we talk about personal brand, and I think in the case of a comedian, you probably can't escape it because your face, you can't do your art without your face showing.
right, I am the material.
Yeah, exactly. And actors and musicians, the same thing, especially if they're, which most of them are, doing any kind of live performance. Like you can't fully separate those. But for other mediums, like if you're like a fine artist, right? Like a drawer, painter, I don't know that you need to show your face. Same thing
No.
with like Suzanne Collins is like an iconic example, author of The Hunger Games. That was obviously a blockbuster in the publishing world, a blockbuster in the movie world. She famously does not post to social media, doesn't do interviews, didn't do any publicity. Apparently has never met her publisher. Like her website, it's
Oh, wow.
finally updated, but like it was just like one little like picture of her. It's a picture of her in Central Park with like a rubber rat, not even joking, and a little bit about her. But obviously, like in her case, she did not need a personal brand to make a mark. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, that's so different than
what we're taught.
Although you think about like companies, like we've already mentioned Tiffany's a few times and McDonald's, like they don't need a face. I mean, like they had Ronald McDonald for a while,
Yeah.
but whatever happened to that guy?
Yeah, it's almost like you can probably go either way. Like, yeah, I think you can make I think I would make the argument, like if you're just starting out, is brand important? Do you need a brand? I would say, yeah, I think probably, but I think you get to decide whether you want to lean into your brand as the thing that you're creating, like
Right.
versus you as a person.
Yeah, I could see that.
And we run into this all the time with our author clients. And I think this is actually probably a better conversation for a branding topic, which maybe we can do. Maybe I'll make you do a branding episode with me.
Okay.
But like a lot of times I'm like, hey, what is your brand? And the instinct is always like they describe themselves as a person. And I think if they're planning to be like on TikTok and Reels, and like that is a huge, like Tessa Bailey comes to mind, huge part of Tessa Bailey's a romance author for those not in the know.
Yeah.
Everybody should know Tessa, but like she has a great brand, both in terms of her books and her person, because she puts herself out there all the time. And yeah, she's just funny and charismatic. But I think if you're not necessarily going to go that route and constantly be on camera, then your brand should probably be about your books, because that's what your readers are first. And that's the majority of what your readers are going to get from you is your books.
Yeah.
So, all right, Anthony. If you had a tip for a newbie just starting out, forming their brand, first of all, do you think they need to form their brand? Like, would you be like, yeah, you need a brand? Or would you say just focus on the work?
It depends on who I'm talking to, meaning a comedian or not. And for a comedian, I would say, don't worry about brand. Do not. And I would say experiment with different brands, with different styles of your comedy. Just focus on the work, get good, get funny, and then you can find your brand. Because I think of brand and voice as interchangeable for a comedian.
Yeah.
Because that, I mean, like your voice is your brand. Like Steve Martin went through,
Oh, yeah.
he went through a transition. He actually was just like a
Transition.
yeah. When
He
Steve Martin
went
back in
through the change.
back in the day, he transitioned into a different style of comedian, and it was only after that point that he achieved mega success.
Question.
Yeah.
Did that at all correlate with his hair color change?
No, I think it was gray since birth.
He does kind of seem like that.
Yeah. No, I
I
mean,
feel like I don't even want to see a picture of him with dark hair.
no, I remember seeing videos of him in like a brown leisure suit doing comedy, and that's after he had kind of done the goofball, it like switched into this goofy like satire
Yeah.
of comedy, and he had mostly gray with like a few brownish patches, but it was still
That's not Steve
iconically-
Martin.
Yeah.
Talk about having that part of your brand.
Yeah. And then like George Carlin went from being a super buttoned up, almost like an accountant to more of a beatnik. And that's when he achieved success and his comedy changed and everything. But that was a very intentional switch. So I would tell new comics, experiment with different styles, just focus on the work. Your voice will come to you. I'm still looking for it. I mean, like, I think that's a never ending voyage journey. I don't know. Voyage was the wrong word. That's off brand. Anyway, what about you? What would you tell
Sorry.
new authors just
my
starting?
my intense silence right there is hatred of my dog who's over there crying. I think mine would actually be, well, I don't know. I have lots, and like you, it would probably vary depending on who I'm talking to, a writer versus a comedian, because I know so much, versus like a designer. But I think in general, I would say, and I wish actually I would have done more. I wish I would have done this more myself early on, is embrace what makes you different. Because the entire point of a brand is to be recognizable and to have people remember you. And if you're just like everybody else, that's going to be really hard. Whereas if you can kind of like hone in on, like, basically like embracing being the weirdo. I actually just like did an interview the other day, And they're like, what advice do you give to beginning authors? And I've just found myself writing, I'm like, be weird, be a
Yeah.
weirdo. Because I think that not that you even have to stick with it. Like you said, you can experiment and change. And I think that's going to be a part of the process no matter what. Even just getting older, you're going to change. Like that is going to have to happen. You're going to evolve. But I think if you from the very beginning, you give yourself permission to stand out intentionally. I think that's a good start.
Yeah. Should we end it there because of
Yeah.
your dog?
Yep.
Okay. I like that advice.
Okay.
Well, this has been so much fun.
Yeah, I feel like riled up now. I feel like we're gonna go keep chatting after this.
I know, there
after we
might-
kill Bailey.
I know there might be a part 2 coming. Who knows?
Oh, you know what? I think we know who's gonna get stabbed. For the stabbing, it's not gonna be me.
That's right. It's well, how'd your dog get stabbed? Well, actually, it was me.
We'll just play the audio for this, and they'll understand.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. We'll see you here next week on Last Word Podcast.
Possibly still talking about brand.
Possibly. We might have not even moved. All right. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.